Hello team and welcome back to the channel. So before we get started, I would recommend you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You will find tons of amazing hands-on videos on DevOps and Cloud DevOps. And all those things you'll be able to find on this channel itself. If you scroll down, you'll find lots of real-time hands-on implementations, which will be really useful if you are going for interviews. Now, talking about today's videos, today is day 5 of AWS DevOps Bootcamp, where we are going to understand about different AWS storage services along with S3, and we are going to perform different implementations also, so that we can see and understand in real time what kind of implementation do we do, what kind of data do we store, and how do we access it. Okay, so all those things will be covered today. Talking about documentation, you can refer this repository on my account, and all the documentation will be added here. Okay, and one more request team, make sure to check out this day 4 about networking. It is an hour long, and here I have shown real-time scenario how exactly the whole network infrastructure will be there for your project. So make sure to check it out. So team, now let's talk about different storage services. So in AWS, AWS provides so many different kind of AWS storage services based on requirement. For example, if you want to store specific kind of data, then we can use specific storage service. Okay, for example, let's say there are multiple kind of storage service or categories are there, for which we have first object storage services that are going to be helping us storing objects. Then we have block storage. We are going to study them in deep also and along with example. Then we have file storage. Then we have hybrid storage. Okay, now these are the different kind of categories under which we will be having different storage services inside AWS. So now let us start with the first one. We have object storage. What will be the object storage category? So basically in object storage services, we are going to store data as individual objects, and it is best suited for unstructured data. Now in unstructured data, what will be the what kind of data do we have? So we have kind of data as media. Media means like video, we have audio, we have images, or we have any other files. Okay, now this much we can go with. Also, in object storage service, we can store backups. Okay. Now, talking about what kind of service do we have with which follows object storage. So in AWS, we have AWS S3. And now this S3 is one of the most widely used storage service also. Why? Because it has so many features. Okay. When we talk about key features of S3, first it is scalable. First feature is scalability. When I say that this service is scalable, that means I wanted to say that it can store unlimited data. Okay. Secondly, durability. How durable this service is? It's going to be durable like this much, 99 point till 11 nines. These are basically 11 nines. This percentage, it is durable. Okay. Then we have accessibility. Now this kind of service can be accessed globally. We can access it globally via APIs. Okay. Now talking about cost, so there are different tiers in S3. We have standard, we have glacier, and we have more. So those tiers will be explaining in detail in a bit. But now let us say the use cases, the main use cases that we have for S3. Okay. So first use case is for static website content. Let us say that you have a website that has, let's say, 3-4 pages. It could be having like home.html. It could be having, let's say, some other pages, the basic static web pages. Okay, so these web pages can be stored directly on this S3, and we can access through the URL, and your website will be available and running on the internet as well. So this is quite good usage or good use case for this scenario where we want to run or deploy your static website. Okay, talking about next use case. So it is quite useful when you want to store backup in cases of disaster recovery. Okay, so there the backups also can be stored on this. Okay, and there is a specific service which is known as data lakes that can also be stored for big data analysis. Okay. Talking about the like real-time example for S3. So let us assume that there is a media company that utilizes S3 to store and stream video content to the global audience. Okay. So a media company can be using S3 for streaming the media content. This is a real-time example. Okay. Streaming what kind of content? Video. Okay. Now, obviously they need to use this CDNs, which is content delivery network, for the efficient distribution. But this is the real-time scenario where you can use S3. And as I say, there are like almost all kind of data you can store on S3. Okay. For example, let's talk about data example. What kind of data we are going to store, or what will be the format of it. Okay. So let's say I want to store a video named my video.mp4. This will be the file name. Okay. There will be some kind of metadata associated with this file. Okay, that will be there in that metadata we'll be writing what information will be there is like content type. It will be mentioned as video/mp4 uploaded by the user who has uploaded. Along with that, there will be an unique identifier using which it will be recognized. Okay, this file is like each file will be having its own unique identifier. Okay, for example, let's say A, B, C, D, like that, mp4. Okay, so these are kind of like object storage, where we can use a service like S3 for storing different kind of object. Specifically talking about media, then we talk about services like backups, data lakes. These things are general that we can store. So team, now let's talk about the second one. We have block storage. Now, when we talk about block storage, what exactly we refer? So block storage services are going to be the ones that is going to store data in fixed size blocks, and that is ideal for applications that require low latency access. Okay. Now, as I said, block storage, the services, for example, we have one service known as Amazon EBS, which is Elastic Block Store. Now, this is one of the service that is going to be like that follows the block storage. So again, I'm saying in block storage, basically it's going to store data in fixed size block, and it is ideal for applications that require low latency access. Okay, for example, databases. Okay, when I say low latency, what exactly does it mean? So low latency means there should be minimum delay in user input and system response. Okay, what do I mean, or what do I mean by this when I say minimum delay between user input and system response? For example, let's say we have some database and we are sending input to query something to find like how many tables are there. Then there should be very less time of minimum delay in which we get the response from a system that there are maybe 3 tables. Okay, so this minimum delay is there, like minimum as least as possible. Then that part will be like this will be said that low latency. There is very low latency. Okay, now for EBS we have for block storage we have a service which is known as AWS EBS. Okay, which is Elastic Block Store. Okay, what it does, it's going to be providing us persistent block storage volumes to use within AWS EC2 instances. So the virtual machines that we create, virtual machines like if I create Ubuntu machine or like EC2 machine or anything like that. So we for providing the storage to the virtual machine, we can use EBS services. Okay, why it is useful? Because it is low latency. As soon as I put an input that okay, I want to view files, I want to see files, immediately we will be getting a response from system that okay, these are the files. Okay, so team, now let's talk about file storage. Now data that is going to be stored in file storage is going to be stored and accessed in hierarchical structure. Okay, when I say hierarchical structure, what do I mean by that? So basically this structure that you can see, this is a kind of hierarchical structure that we have in traditional file system. So in the same way, data is going to be stored in file storage based services. Now another benefit that we have with respect to file storage is that it allows multiple users to multiple users and applications to access the shared files. For example, let's say we have an application source code. So obviously, if there is an application source code, it needs to be accessed by multiple people, right? It needs to be accessed by multiple people and to be utilized by them. So this option will be available if you are using a service that is based on file storage. Now, talking about what kind of services provide this kind of file storage data storage. So we have AWS EFS, which is Elastic File System. Okay, and it is also it's kind of scalable services, and it uses NFS. Now NFS is what? NFS is network file system, so it allows you to access files over the network. Okay, so this is going to be the first service for file storage. Second service that also provide this kind of file storage options, we have Amazon FSx family. Okay, which basically includes file storage solution for specific workloads. Okay, so these are the two services that help you that is going to get you option for file storage kind of data storage. Okay, if we talk about an real-time example, so let us say that there is a team of 20 developers who are using AWS EFS for a shared code repository. This example that I gave you, that there should be there will be an application source code. So this is a real-time example where if there are 20 developers, they want to access the same source code at the same time they can use this. Okay, so this like these services EFS which supports file storage can be utilized for this. So team, now let's talk about hybrid storage. Okay, now when I say hybrid storage, what exactly do I mean? That means storage on premises and storage on cloud. Okay, for example, let us say on premises we have multiple file servers. Okay, and cloud we can have S3 or any other service. So when we talk about hybrid storage, it refers to storage on premises also or cloud also. So what exactly can be done? Like there should be some option using which we can communicate. We can establish communication and connection between on-premises storage and the cloud storage. So for that purpose, we have a service that is known as AWS Storage Gateway. AWS Storage Gateway. Now what this service is going to do, it's going to bridge the gap between on-premises storage and cloud storage. Let us understand this with an example. So let us say that there is a company X. Okay, now this company uses AWS Storage Gateway to back up the on-premises file servers, this one, and servers back up this to S3. So using this, basically you can manage hybrid storage. So team, now we are going to get started with the hands-on part on AWS S3 service. For that, we are going to do these four kind of things. First, we are going to set up an S3 bucket. We are going to upload files and folders, and we are going to see how we can access them. Then we are going to see how we can manage permissions, and then we are going to eventually host a static website. How we can do that via S3 bucket. So first of all, what we have to do, you can just go on the console page, and here you can search for S3. The first option that comes, you need to open that. Now this is the place where you have to create your first S3 bucket. So I can click here S3 bucket, and also all these things can be done using two ways. First way is that using the user interface console UI. Second one is that using a CLI. What kind of CLI we can use? We can use AWS CLI directly. Okay, so let us see. First we are doing with UI. I can click here create bucket. Now there are two options: bucket type, general purpose, and directory. So for now, general purpose is the one that with which we are going. Here we need to give a name. So I can give the name like DevOps Shack bucket -123. Scroll down, and here we have object ownership. So this is the recommended option which we are going to go with. And here we have public access. So for now, I'm blocking all the public access so that the bucket could not be accessible over the public network. Okay. Bucket versioning. So why do we need to do bucket versioning? So basically, let us say that there are two buckets, bucket 1 and bucket 2. Now, in bucket 1, we have uploaded specific files and folders for our let's say backup and something like that. On bucket 2 we have uploaded the same thing but of different version. So if you want to maintain or manage multiple versions, then only you need to enable the versioning, but by default we are just disabling, like keeping it disabled. Scrolling down, here we don't need to change anything and we can click on create bucket. Now if your name that you have provided, if it does not conflict with any other name on over the cloud, then it will be created for the first time itself. Okay, now once this is created, we can click on this, and now we have these many options. Okay, first thing that we have to do, we are going to upload some files. I can click on upload, and here you can decide if you want to upload a file or folder. Okay, so I can click on add files, and here let's say I'm uploading a simple image. Okay, once you have uploaded, you need once you have selected this, you need to click on upload. And okay, so this is uploaded. We can click here and we can get these details. Now how do we access that? So in order to access that, there will be one object URL present for that whatever file you have pushed. You can click on that, and now you can see it says that permission is not given, access is denied, so that you won't be able to access the whatever file you have pushed, right? In that case, what we have to do, so we'll go back to bucket, we can go to permissions, and here you can see, since there is like no public access is enabled, so we need to click on edit, we need to uncheck this option, click on save, and here we can click on confirm, we can select confirm, type here. Now again we will go back to the image that we created, click on this, and now still it is showing that it is not accessible. In that case, what we have to do, so basically once you have enabled the public access, still you need to do one more thing. What thing we are talking about? So here you can see this option, permissions, go there, scroll down to bucket policy, now click on edit. Now here we need to define that permission should be allowed for reading. So for that you have to add this script. Here you can see we have the action that we are providing is get object. This action will allow for the accessing the whatever files and folders we have over internet. Okay, remember that folder you cannot access like an object with an object URL, because it's not treated as a single object, but this is single file. If I want, let me save this. One second, we have, okay, so here the name needs to be changed. The name should be the name of the bucket, which we can copy from here and I can paste it here. Okay, once this is done, you can save this, and now we can go back to the object that we want to access, and here is the object URL, and now you can see we are able to access the object. Okay, so this is how a simple like object you have, you can just get access to it using the object URL. Okay, now we can also upload folders. If I click on this, you can see add folder, you can go to here, we can click on static website and click on upload. Okay, now that folder is uploaded, but again I am saying that you cannot access the file, the folder directly using the object URL. If I try to show you, here you can see we have this. Okay, if I click on open, it's just going to open this. Even if I click on copy URLs, you can see it does give us the object URL, but the folders won't be accessible because folders is not treated as a single object. Okay, but still if I go inside it, let's say I want to I want to get the index page. So for that, the object URL that is present, if I click on that, we will be able to get the page. Okay, that means folder access won't be allowed in this format, but if you want to download folders from S3 buckets, there is another option which is using AWS CLI. Okay, now so this can be done in this format. Okay, now let's talk about how we can host our static website. So for that, I'm going to take separate bucket so that we can have that separately. Basically, when we talk about static website, so what happens? If I try to show you, this is my folder static website where we have multiple HTML files. Okay, you can see index.html, error.html, about, contact, so and so in single folder. Okay, if I show you the code of it, simple HTML and CSS code is there. Okay, Now these static websites, since they are just static and they are not connected to any database or like any other like dynamic service, so they are basically not dynamic. Okay, so if I want to access it, if I double click here, it will be opening on browser like this. It's just displaying the content of the file, correct? So like as of now I'm accessing it locally, right? But if I want to make it public, so there is this option over S3 where we can store our static website files, and then we can make it like we can make it accessible over browser. How we can do that? So let me create one bucket, static website dash demo. This will be the name of bucket that I have created. I'm removing this block all public access, scrolling down and clicking on. Okay, we have some option. This we need to acknowledge. Click on create bucket. Okay, and we have to change the name also. Now bucket is getting created. Once the bucket is created, we can go inside the bucket, and here I'm going to upload certain files. What files I'm going to upload? These are the ones, the static website files. Okay, and click on upload. Once this part is done, what we can do, we can go back to our bucket, go to properties, scroll down to static website hosting, click on edit, click on enable, and now we have to provide the name of the specific you can see entry point file. So for that we have index.html. Since I have already kept it, so I can provide the name, and we have one error document also, which is basically pointing to if any error is there, it's going to open this. Okay, rest we don't have to change anything, and let's try now. So I have saved it. Okay, if I again scroll down to the end, we'll be able to see one URL which is basically pointing to our index.html file. If I click here, and let's wait for this. Now you can see that it is saying access denied. So how do we resolve this issue now? So if I again go back in permissions, here you can see even though public access is turned on, still there is no bucket policy added. So we are going to click on edit, and here we need to add the policy. What policy will be added? So this will be the policy that we need to add. Okay, now we just need to change one thing, which is going to be the bucket name. I'm going to copy that, paste it here, and then we can set up this policy. And let me try to access again. This time you'll be able to see that website is able to be accessed and website is working fine. In this way you can host a static website using S3 bucket. And we can go on YouTube channel also of DevOps Shack. So this is how you can host a static website. Okay, so team, now what we can do, we can try doing the same things using AWS CLI. For that, first of all, I'll go to EC2 instance, and I'm going to create a instance so that I can run different commands from that instance. And let's provide the name as server. I'm going to create a Ubuntu machine, and this will be a machine sized T2 medium. Keep here we can select, and security group also we can select. Storage I can give 20. Remember, this storage is EBS volumes. And I have created this. Get the public IP address, go on browser, and we can open Waxstorm. Okay, before that, one more thing, let me show you. 1 second. So we saw that we are able to access different files and folders. So let's say I want to download this banner. I can copy this object URL, go on a session of like shell, and open the session, and now I can run the command wget, and this file will be downloaded. If I run ls command, you can see this file banner.png is downloaded. Okay, so this is another way of like using the object URLs that are quite useful actually. And machine is created, we can connect to the machine, click on session, SSH, provide the IP address, Username it's going to be Ubuntu. In advanced search we can get the private key location, and that is done. Now this machine is connected, right? First command that we are supposed to run, sudo apt update. Once that is run, then we can install AWS CLI. Now meanwhile, since we have to install AWS CLI, because that is going to be used for communicating from that virtual machine to the AWS account. Now for the time being, I'm going to use my root account so that we'll be able to access without any issue. And for other kind of users, you need to set up permissions so that they can access S3 buckets. Okay. So for my root account, first of all, I'm remove the previous key, and I can create new key. This key will make sure that we are able to communicate. So I can click here, generate, and this is generated, right? This file is created also. Now I need to install AWS CLI on this virtual machine. So for that I can run this command, which is going to install AWS CLI on the machine. And let's wait for this to complete. Okay, now this is done. Now what I can do, I can run the command AWS -- configure. So not -, yeah. So here we need to provide access key ID, so we can open the Excel file that we just downloaded. Now Excel file is this one, so I can copy this. Sorry, this is the Excel file and this is the access key ID. So I can put the access key ID here. Then we have to give the secret access key. That also we can get from here and paste it here. Then we have to provide region. So currently I am working in AP South-1, which is a region for Mumbai, and default output format you can just leave it as it is. Now here what we have done, we are connected to the AWS account. Here I can run again AWS configure, and these are the details we are able to see. Okay, so next what we have to do, now first thing that we are going to do is create a new bucket. How we can do that? Using AWS CLI, I can run the command AWS S3 MB, short for make bucket. Then we have to write S3, this is a format, then a name of the bucket. What name we want to go with? Let's say I want to go with Aditya Dev Shack 654. Okay, then we have to provide name of region, and then a region which is AP-South-1. I click enter and let's see what happens. Now we can go to our S3, and here we can check if there is new bucket created or not, and you can see this new bucket is created. Okay, but here a lot of things are see, all the public access is denied, and there is nothing, like it is created basically with default option. Now what we can do, now let's say I want to upload some file here. So how we can do? Using AWS CLI. So for that we have to run a command. What command we have to run? But yeah, before we run the command, we need to have what kind of file I want to push. So let's say I'm going to create some file, 1.txt, 2.txt. Okay, these two files I created. Now I want to push these files. So what we can do, we can run the command AWS S3 cp cp for copy, and then I can run 1.txt. Okay, and let's say I want to publish 1.txt, and I want to then provide the name. What is the name of our bucket? Which is this one. Okay, now I can click enter and let's see what happens. Upload, it says it is done, but we can check the status here by refreshing the page, and here we can see the new file 1.txt is uploaded. Okay, now let us say that I want to upload multiple things, so multiple files and folders. For that, what I am going to do, I'm going to create a directory first, mkdir, let's say F1 folder. Okay, and we have F1 folder. So first I'm going to go inside this F1 folder, and I'm going to create so many different files. Files will be like this, let's say 3.txt, 4.txt, 5.txt. Okay, so these files and folders are created. Now let's say I want to upload an entire folder, which is F1 in my case. In that case, what I have to do, I have to run the command AWS S3, then cp for copy. The name of the folder in our case is F1. Then provide the name of the bucket, which is this. Okay. And then we have to add recursive. That means we want to add everything that exists within the folder as well. I can run this, and now we can go again and check the status. You can see all the files are present. So team, now let's talk about how we can access files and folders. So for that, let's say I want to access, I want to list the bucket contents. For that, I can write AWS S3, then ls for the list command, then S3 colon the name of the bucket, which in our case is this one. Okay. Click enter. And now you are able to see that these are the 4 files that we have present as of now inside the bucket. Now let's say I want to download this file. Okay, so let's say I want to download 5.txt. In that case, what we can do, we can run the command AWS S3 cp for copy, but this time copying we are doing from the bucket here. How we can mention that information? We can write the name of the bucket /5.txt, and then where we want to copy this, we want to copy here, that is in the current directory. Click dot, that means the current directory. Okay, so this part is done, and if I run ls here, you can see 5.txt is present now. So team, now let's talk about static website hosting using the AWS CLI. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to upload the files, the HTML files for the website. Okay, this part is done. Next thing that we need to do is make sure that the bucket policy that we have, if I go back here, our bucket, sorry, in permissions, we need to make sure that we have a bucket policy enabled. Okay, bucket policy is there, which allows to access the public access. Okay, now generally what we do from UI, we enable the static website hosting, but this option is we are not using right now. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go on the virtual machine. Here I'm going to run the command AWS S3, then we have to write website for enabling the for the this one static website hosting, then S3 bucket name. In our case, bucket name is this one. Paste it here. Then we need to provide information about the index document. Index file, basically the entry point. Index dash document, and index document name in our case is index.html. Correct? And one more document we need to add, which is optional, but still we are going to add it, which is the error document. This is also going to be an HTML file. And let us run this. So this part is done. Okay. Now, how do we access it? So now we can refresh the page, and let's see if it is enabled or not. We can go at the end, and here we can see it is enabled, and we have the URL also. So let us see. Okay, so it's okay. So you can see we are able to access our website. So this is how we can use from UI also we can do, and from the from this one, from AWS CLI also we can host our static website.